Testing, testing.
Good morning, everyone. I know it is only 8:58. I know that because of our new clock that doesn't require me to read a clock face. If we are all ready, we can get started. Okay. Nine o'clock on the nose. If we can start today, I'll ask Ms. Chia to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Can I just say one thing?
Yeah. Yeah.
If I may, before we get started, I just wanted to make sure everyone was aware that Gail Cox is in the hospital. And unfortunately, we're hearing that she may have had a stroke. So we really, our hopes and prayers are with her today. So I just wanted to make sure everyone knew that hopefully she'll recover quickly. Yeah.
Thanks for that.
I'm sorry, but
That news, Mike. We are thinking of her, but we can get started with our consent items. The first one is to approve the board workshop minutes from January the 23rd of this year.
If you want to take them all in one,
Okay.
the consent, you can do that.
I move
Okay.
approval of agenda item 2A through D.
I have an edit to one of the minutes. It's a minor thing.
Well, which minutes? Because there's three of them that say
right.
minutes.
It's 2A.
Okay.
The attendant said that Chief Milliken was absent and he was present. He was at my table that day.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, that's it.
So with that correction?
With that correction, yes, I
think we had a
move to
motion
approve
and a
or
second.
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing nothing. We have now finished the consent items section. Moving on to our action items, we have a whole bunch. We will start with community council appointment with Ms. Garcia.
Good morning, Yaridis Garcia, I'm Community Engagement Manager, and I'm here to propose a candidate for the South County Community Council, Tara Dimanche. She is the long resident of St. Petersburg. She currently works for the Pinellas County School Board in the Office of Strategic Partnership as a senior coordinator. Ms. Dimanche, she's very strong in the community and very present. She loves community building, fostering partnership, and helping families with resources in the South County community. Tara is a very active member of the JWB South County, and she served as a vice chair and secretary for over 10 years. She has to step down, but she's coming back to serve in the South County Community Council. She's very passionate about literacy and childhood hunger. She's committed to helping the community to move forward and thrive in their own neighborhood. Upon approval, we will have 41 active community councils being represented in North, Mid, and South. If you have any question, I'm here because she's actually working in the school system.
Any questions, any discussion? Nope, do I have a motion?
I move approval. Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Hearing nothing, Ms. Dimanche is now approved. The second action item is to approve fiscal year '26 allocation amendment with regards to the St. Pete Free Clinic.
Okay, good morning. Before I start, there's a lot of things that make me cry. Allocation amendments don't, but these lights are killing me. So if you see me wipe a tear, it's good. Like it. Okay. I'm Elaine Melchiori, the Director of Procurement Programs and Business Services, and I'm here this morning to request an FY26 allocation amendment that would move funds from St. Petersburg Free Clinic to assign fund balance, specifically unforeseen expenses. So on January 22nd, if the board recalls, you guys approved the FY26 non-operating capital project award recommendations from the evaluation committee totaling $2.5 million. Of that $2.5 million, St. Pete Free Clinic was awarded a commercial funding, a commercial roofing project in the amount of $77,912. However, since board approval, but prior to contract execution, St. Pete Free Clinic did have a change in that project scope, so they are no longer in need of that roof replacement. So with that being said, we are requesting that allocation amendment to move that $77,912 from St. Pete Free Clinic to assigned fund balance, bringing unforeseen expenses from $6,370,934 to $6,448,846. Does the board have any questions?
Move approval.
All right, I heard a motion and a second. All in favor? Any opposed? Hearing nothing, motion passes. Okay, our third action item is approved funding for Clearwater for Youth. Ms.
Good
Bogus.
morning. Good morning, everyone. Karen Bogus, Chief Operating Officer. I'm here this morning to request approval for funding for Clearwater for Youth. Before I get started, I would like to acknowledge and recognize Hoyt Hamilton, the Board Chair of Clearwater for Youth, and Kevin Dunbar, the Executive Director. And Colleen, I asked Colleen beforehand, so there are 3 action items for this request. You can choose to do them individually or all together. So I'll just read the action. Request for approval of purchasing policy waiver and the funding of $50,000 to Clearwater for Youth. Request for approval authorizing the Chief Executive Officer to execute the new agreement and all related documents with Clearwater for Youth, and request for approval of an allocation amendment from assigned fund balance unforeseen expenses to Clearwater for Youth. CFY, is what they're affectionately called, is dedicated to ensuring that every child in the county has access to one of the more than 50 and growing CFY-supported youth athletic programs. CFY identifies need based on attendance at Pinellas County Title I schools, elementary and middle, ensuring that support reaches children who will benefit the most. The initiative is designed to remove barriers, expand access, uplift communities, and keep children and youth engaged through collaboration and inclusion. Organized sports and structured activities provide youth with consistent routines, positive social interaction, skill development, teamwork, healthy physical activity, all of which are associated with improved mental, social, and emotional outcomes. Participation in these activities is consistently linked to better overall health, reduced screen time, and stronger psychosocial development. Collectively, these experiences serve as a significant protective factor that supports positive youth growth and well-being. CFY is proposing to serve 250 to 300 youth between April 1st, 2026 and September 30th by providing funding for registration fees for at nonprofit youth recreational athletic programs. CFY will be providing JWB with quarterly reports that include number of children served, programs served, total funds distributed, zip codes where the youth reside, and schools where the youth attend. And CFY is interested, if this is approved, that next year we may consider $100,000 to serve around 700 to 800 youth, and we'll be coming back to the board with that through our budget process for fiscal year 27. Open for questions.
Any questions, discussion?
Move approval on all 3 items.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, we have approved funding for CFY.
Thank you.
And I just want to clarify, the motion and the second and the rest of the vote was for all 3 action items, yes? Okay, thank you. The next action item is approval for continuation of FSI software and services, which sounds about as interesting as youth sports.
So exciting. Good morning, I'm Laura Peel, Chief Information Officer. And this morning I'm seeking approval to renew a contract with WellSky Corporation. They're a company in which we began doing business with in 2019. WellSky provides software called Service Point, and that software is used by our Family Services Initiative to track transactions, incidental requests, and then approvals for payment. This contract is due to be renewed on April 16th, and it's for $60,515. This amount, along with the anticipated 5 additional licenses, was included in fiscal year 26 budget that was approved last fall. I'm bringing this today in anticipation that you're going to approve the upcoming action item to decrease the CEO's spending authority down to $50,000. This is one of those items that wouldn't in the past have come to you, but we felt in anticipation for that, it was a good idea to bring it. So there's 2 requests that I'm seeking today. The first is to approve the renewal agreement with WellSky for the Service Point software for $60,515 with the authority to add additional required licenses if needed at $445 per license. We do have the option to lower that as we move forward if needed. At this time, though, I only anticipate that we'll need the 87 licenses for the rest of this contract that we're going into. It also includes cloud services, the subscription for the licenses, and then any professional services that may be needed. What I'm seeking is to grant authority for the CEO or his designee to finalize and execute the agreement subject to JWB legal review. It's still going through that process. Should I go into the second one or just keep going? All right. The second portion is to allow the CEO or designee to renew the agreement for up to 4 additional years without additional board approval. The cost of each renewal will not exceed 5% annual increase, and all amounts will be budgeted in fiscal year budgets as part of the standard process that you go through with the budget approval. That's all I have. Any questions?
Yes.
Thank you, Laura. Just a question. What's the amount of money that would go through in a year in these incidental transactional services?
That's a great question. And do you know that, Karen?
We have a budget in the family services pool of about $2.1 million. So it could be up to that if needed.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Ms. Chia?
No question, but I'd like to request that we vote on those action items separately.
Okay.
Because I am for approving it for this year, but I'm not for the board giving up our annual review authority for the next 4 years. I think it should continue to come to the board.
Okay, so as to action, I guess D1, so 1, which is the continuation of the agreement for this year.
Move approval.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, so action item number 1 passes, which is the continuation for this year.
Thank you.
As to action item number 2, which is to approve additional 1-year renewals up to 4 without additional board approval. Is there a motion?
I'll move approval.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
Oppose.
Opposed?
I'll say no.
No.
Oh, God, now I have to count, okay.
Thank you.
So who said no? Could you raise your hands? So we have
Okay.
4 opposed.
Yeah.
So that motion would fail. The second portion would fail.
Then we will be back next year.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sounds good, thank you.
Action item E is to approve the extension of the interim CEO agreement until June the 1st of 2026.
Thank you. If you will recall, on February 20th, you unanimously voted to extend Mr. McCurrick's contract through June 1, 2026. And so the first amendment to his employment agreement should have been in your packet. And if not, I have it here if anybody wants to look at it. It literally extends the termination date till June 1st, 2026. So it would just require your approval, and once you approve that, Mr. McCurrick and the board chair will sign it, and his contract will be extended to June 1st, 2026.
Move approval.
Second.
I have
All
a
in fa-
discussion.
Yes?
I just wanted to say a few comments about this today. This overall agenda today brings into clarity the message from the providers at the CEO interviews when they stressed their concern regarding Mr. McCurrick taking steps and direction to implement the Mike vision of JWB and not the mission of the organization to support kids and families of Pinellas County. The letter that was recently sent to providers that created instability and concern with funded providers without discussion from or informing the board in advance is one example. I feel it's inappropriate for an interim CEO to aggressively implement these direction changes, especially without board discussion or approval. Although he technically has the authority to do so in the powers we voted to give him as interim, to do so at this transition time without transparency and discussion is dealing with the board in bad faith, in my opinion. I think Mr. McCurrick has been very clear when he discusses his vision for JWB and the direction he would like it to go. He has discussed his ideas for development projects of the neighborhoods. He discusses partnerships with for-profit entities and a move away from funding nonprofit entities. And finally, his desire to heavily fund marketing and awareness initiatives as a priority. All of which are a departure from the status quo of this agency, at least in regards to the scale being discussed. It's also a departure to have JWB staff staffed and execute these rather than funding a nonprofit partner to do so. We recently had a strategic planning meeting to work on the board-approved strategic plan. We have not completed this process, nor have we as a board had the opportunity to talk about these directional changes. Additionally, I think it's critical to share that I had the opportunity to review the provider oversight process JWB currently uses with our funded providers. I have many concerns and have expressed these concerns to Mike and Colleen, but I feel that all of you should know on the board. The current process is wildly outside of industry standard practices, including but not limited to writing findings of fact without providing evidence for the provider to review, yet expecting a detailed response from the provider, including frivolous findings such as requesting extensions on findings or responses, which JWB has approved as a problem, and they are being included in asking for a reasonable extension as a programmatic problem. Sorry, that was poorly written. Demanding providers provide access to JWB for observation and oversight activities that potentially violate federal HIPAA rules. The tone and lack of reasonable collaboration from JWB with providers in this process helped me to understand why so many of our funded partners expressed distress and concern with the JWB tone at the top in the provider surveys. These current practices, including changes in longstanding protocols by the interim CEO, have created insecurity and instability with our funded providers. During this time of transition, it's not prudent governance to allow it to continue, as it is creating multiple compliance risks for the organization. The organization already has had one scandal of Medicaid fraud, currently has an active lawsuit in process, and is at high risk of additional lawsuits, audits, or penalties from these practices under Mr. McCurrick's watch. I feel it's both prudent and incumbent on the board at this time to be good stewards of our fiduciary responsibility to the taxpayers of Pinellas County, to make modifications to the extension of the interim CEO's contract to limit what actions can be taken between now and when a permanent CEO is hired or the contract terminates on June 1st. I just wanted to raise these concerns with the board and hear what everyone else might have to say about adding a scope of work amendment to the contract.
Oh, no, I didn't mean that.
I appreciate those comments from a project coordinator, not a compliance professional. And if there's any questions of her title, it is a matter of public record. As I recall, during our, and I don't want to get into what happened during our CEO meeting a month ago. It seems like it was a year ago, but I think it was a month ago. The provider scores, I believe it was Mr. McCurrick 1, Mr. Chapman 2, and Mr. Gilzine 3. The other thing I will say is I believe that we give surveys to providers, and those are usually all like pretty good. Is that accurate assessment, Ms. Bogus?
Yes, I believe we have posted the surveys up on, and their responses up on our website. And I believe it was like 90, and please don't quote me right this second, but it was over 90% of the providers were satisfied. And there were a number of providers that indicated some concerns.
Okay. And that's publicly available data. As for the letter, it's come up before. You know, the work of JWB needs to continue, whether it's Mr. McCurrick as the interim CEO or whoever as the interim CEO. We can't just shut the doors and not care about the kids of Pinellas County. And if somebody owes us money, if a provider owes us money, I expect them to pay us back. We're not going to have a forgiveness, a funding forgiveness plan just because we don't have a permanent CEO. And to expect that, I think, is pretty ridiculous. And, you know, we're board members of JWB. We're not board members of another entity. And I will, even if, you know, we love the, you know, other providers and other entities, and I will remind our fellow board members what our role is, what our fiduciary responsibilities of JWB are, and some of those are very serious and legal obligations that we have to this agency and not to other entities. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay.
I had one question. You said this provider surveys are up on the website. Are they up on the website in their totality with all of the narrative? I understand there were a lot of satisfied boxes that were checked, but the comments that I'm referring to are the narrative comments that many of the providers, a majority of the providers made throughout those surveys.
So the survey, the complete report is up on our website under the provider tab, notated as the provider survey from fiscal year 25.
So the summarized report
Correct.
is up there, but not, and that is where I take issue because I don't believe that the summary of the report reflected accurately what was in the actual raw data. So just making that clarification. And respectfully, Commissioner, I appreciate your comments. I think that a lot of what you asserted that I'm asking here was jumping to some conclusions. I'm not saying shutter the doors or not continue to provide services to the children and families of Pinellas County, but rather just restrict what can be done in the next 6 weeks as far as changes, governance, and spending money until we get a permanent CEO, if that happens prior to the 6 weeks. So just points of clarification.
Yes, Ms. Mallow?
I just want to make a comment on, I think it's great for us to have debate about these things, but, you know, as a defense attorney and when we're talking about evidence, Commissioner Latvala, I really respect your comments, but I do think when you have to, I think one of the decisions that the board made, and I've talked to a lot of people in the interim, and this is sort of getting off of the motion, but we also have to consider that those responses are to a person's boss, and that sometimes has a quelling effect on people's real feelings about things that they're willing to tell you on a phone call versus things they're willing to put in a survey that they may have suspicion that their boss or the person who's making financial decisions may see and it reflects. So I'm not saying that those aren't accurate reports from the providers, but I always think when there is documentation of those things that has to be considered. And I really do think, I respect everybody on this board. I think there's just amazing people on this board that really care about the children. But I do think that the board probably made a mistake when we allowed an interim person to also run for a permanent position because it put the providers in a strange position. And that's some of the feedback that I've got. So I just want to make that comment.
When you say provider's boss, what are you talking about?
So when you have the CEO able to make $75,000 worth of decisions in moving money, and you're asked that could impact your budget, and you're asked to give a survey to the person who may be in the position to make those decisions, there may be a quelling effect on the response. And that's some of the feedback I've got through phone calls and those kinds of discussions. I just wanted to raise that. Doesn't mean that all of the responses are invalid. Doesn't mean any of the responses are invalid. They all may be perfectly above board, but that is some of the feedback that I had, and I just wanted to raise it to the board's
I mean, I've
attention
had,
since it got brought up.
I'm up to, because I've asked providers for feedback as well, and in full disclosure, I'm up to 2 that are unhappy with the current situation.
Madam Chair, I just want to say that I appreciate the discussion as well, and these are the types of discussions that we shouldn't be afraid to have. Not everything's going to be a unanimous approval with no discussion. We do that quite a bit, which is always good, but every now and then there's a transitional period and we need to, as a board, be active and figure it out together, and that's what we're doing. So I appreciate everybody on this board. I have a tremendous amount of respect for everybody on this board. I just want to also say publicly and to Mr. McCurrack, his legacy in the JWB is secured. His service to the JWB is extraordinary and exceptional and should be respected and should also be honored and cherished. And I don't want him to feel like any of these discussions are taking away from his service or what he's poured into this organization. I can tell you as a board member, there are times where I'm real super busy and I can't sit on the phone for an hour and a half with Beth or Marcy or, you know, Gay or one of our predecessors. But I also know that when Mike was a board member, he was in here for hours and hours and hours. Like he went above and beyond as a board member. So I just want to say that, you know, one of the reasons that we're doing this is because if Mr. McCurrack becomes the permanent, then that's fine. I mean, he continues after June 1st. If we go another direction, I want that person to benefit from being with Mr. McCurrack for at least a few weeks. And you may have seen me tallying feverishly over here trying to figure out when I can be available so that we can make that decision. And I know we're going to get into that in a little bit. But the reason we're doing this is because I think we need the benefit of Mr. McCurrack's experience and service, whether he becomes the permanent or not. And we haven't been able to decide that question yet. And that's something that we need to commit to figuring out, like, how can we get finality on this for the providers, for our partners and for our staff and for everybody else. And Mr. McCurrack and I have discussed this issue at the finance, and I trust that he understands the sensitivity here, and of anyone, he's right in the middle of it. So I trust that he will lead this organization with honor and integrity as he has, and I don't have any concerns about that. So thank you.
Any additional comments? Okay, that being said, we are talking about the approval of the amendment to extend the interim CEO contract. Is there a motion? Oh, we did that already, yes. Yes, motion and a second, and then we started discussion. All in favor? Aye.
Oppose.
So that's one opposed, everyone else is in favor, so the motion passes. Okay, the next action item is the board policies revisions, which relates to some of the other stuff we've talked about.
Since Colleen has done such a great job getting started, I'll ask her to continue that with the board policies as she has provided copies of those for your review.
So at your place, you have a copy of the memo and a copy of the redlined policies. And as we had looked at this at the Finance Committee, I had decided to tab it after talking with Ms. McShay to make it easier for everybody to find the exact changes that are being made. There are several just cleanup changes in these board policies. The substantive changes are, of course, as follows. You'll see the memo with the summary. We start with the definitions. We've taken out contingency budget because it's now referred to the unassigned budget, so we have taken out that definition. The next substantive change, and I don't know if you want me to go through all of these, but we have taken out references to contingency budgets. We have made the substantive changes that you asked for $50,000 with respect to section 5-4, which would limit the CEO approval to a budgetary amendment of up to $50,000. Any amendment above 50, so 50,000 and 1 penny, would come to you. There is a change in section 5-6, it's on page 13, and that is with respect to the emergency response, emergency funding. And that language was vetted at the Finance Committee several weeks ago, and that talks about what happens in an emergency situation, what type of competition could or may be waived by the CEO, and that also is up to $50,000. And that would have to be reported at the next regular board meeting on the board financial and investment report. And in the event that the emergency programmatic funding or emergency purchase exceeds $50,000, then at the next meeting, the CEO would seek ratification as an action item by the board. So that is a bit of a different policy than what you've had before in there. It has certain different limitations. There are some, there are also some changes in the investment policy to note that in certain instances, other personnel would have to comply with Form 1. We don't have that at this time, but hypothetically, we could. There is the substantive change in section 6, which is purchasing and contracting. So this is the real reduction that you guys had asked for, which decreases down from 75 to 50, the CEO's authority. So again, anything $50,000 and 1 penny would come to the board. The one thing I want to point out in this section is with respect to when a competitive solicitation is required. So when you made the changes back in 2023 and made the base go up to $75,000, there was a tweak to the provision that competitive solicitations would be up to, would change at $75,000. So we've left the procurement policy the same, so they would not have to competitively do an RFP unless it's over 75, but you would award it if it was over 50. So the CEO could still award it up to 50, but you would award it 50,000 and a penny and up. You'll see in the policies, we have not altered anything where it discusses how purchases need to be solicited to ensure competitiveness depending on the dollar value. And then the, page 21 makes another reference back to the emergency purchasing. And then the big, probably the biggest substantive change is towards the end, which is the CEO's authority, but we are also reinserting, which was taken out in 2023, the obligation to put as an information item anything that has been sole sourced or purchasing waiver has been executed for it, as well as an information item for contracts between 25 through 50 that are executed in the CEO's settlement, or excuse me, signature authority. So that was taken out in 2023 as an information item. It's always been there in the financial reports, but we're going to put it back as a separate information item. And then the last item, the last tab is the CEO authority down from 75 to 50. And there is some clarifying language. Let me look under section 6-8. And this is where there is the clarification that the $50,000 authority is one-time, non-recurring per entity, that it is not an annual basis, and that any amendment, renewal, or extension originally executed under this section would be brought for board approval if the aggregate amount exceeds $50,000. So in the past, the CEO has had authority to increase contracts as long as the increase was not above $75,000, and that was looked at on an annual basis. This would change it to $50,000 and per entity, not per contract year.
Any questions, discussion?
I do have a question. I noticed several of the changes that you didn't really discuss because it seems immaterial.
Okay.
But there's a number of changes where we're adding or designee after CFO, and I've noticed a trend also on our agendas lately to put that after the CEO. And I'm just wondering what that rationale is. My concern is there was a situation a month or so ago after the CFO was fired that the interim CEO went on vacation and designated authority for the CFO and the CEO roles to the COO. So there was a period of time where the COO was wearing all three hats, which is problematic to me from a governance perspective. I don't know if this is designed to let people pass on their power of authority to other individuals when they're not present. If they want the job, they should be present and, handle the job.
Sure. So if you look throughout the policies, the or designee language is there quite often for that purpose if, let's say, somebody is out or on vacation and because business has to continue to be done. And so that's why certain language is in there in certain places. There's always been designee language that the CEO could designate certain of his or her authorities to a qualified person in management should they be, let's say, on vacation or out sick. And so it hasn't been unusual throughout, my almost 20 years of being around that, let's say, if the CEO goes on vacation, they, put somebody else in charge, right? So they need to know that. There are also certain instances where under some of the finance policies that it may be appropriate to designate that specific duty to a different person in the finance department, like a procurement or something related to investment. It's not intended to shirk the responsibilities. It's just intended to not say, okay, you can't help the CFO do that, or you can't do that. Only the CFO can do that with job responsibilities. The statutes that we operate under with respect to investment policies, they give us certain options. Same with the auditor selection policies, they all say that. So it is not meant to say, okay, we're taking that power away from somebody. It's to give flexibility within the staff as to who can perform the function.
Thank you. I don't take issue with the changes here, but I do think that we should have better prudence when utilizing that.
Thank you, Ms. Chia. Anything else from anyone? Yes.
I just want to thank the members of the Finance Committee for the discussion that happened at the Finance meeting. It was robust. We considered a lot of different angles, had a lot of robust debate, and so you may not hear some of that today because that happened and it's all archived, and want to thank the members of the committee because we spent quite a bit of time on this.
Thank you, Mr. Hendrick. Okay, I don't think we got a motion or approval on this one, so.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Thank you. Okay, motion and second, all in favor? Any opposed? Okay, hearing none, the revisions to the board policy are approved. Oh no, now we have to talk about our calendars. Okay, so now we are talking about, the next action item is the revised April, of 26 board meeting dates. That is, there's a very long list. It turns out everyone is quite busy. So, the dates we have are all listed in the, I don't know how we want to address this. Do you?
Madam Chair, I will try to be, hopefully this is efficient, but there was one date where just myself and Judge Moore were unavailable. That was April 27th. I am in fact available. That's April 27th at 1 p.m. Obviously, Judge Moore isn't here, so we don't know, but maybe Olivia, you can follow up with her this afternoon to see if there's any possible way she could be available. Because that would,
There's a chart.
that would make all 11 of us available on that date. I'm yes on the 27th at 1 p.m. On the 13th, there were 8 of us, and I was a no. I can be a yes on the 13th as well at 1 p.m. So that would get us to 9 with Chief Milliken and Public Defender Malo as a no. So Sarah, I don't know if you can move any, the 13th at 1, Monday, April 13th at 1?
I can't.
Okay, never mind, cross that one out. And then Wednesday, April 15th at 9, I was a maybe. I can definitely be a yes for that. And then that leaves Superintendent Hendrick as a maybe.
I could be a yes.
Okay, Sarah Malo is a yes instead of a maybe. Kevin? 9.
We're talking about the 15th, correct?
Yep,
Yeah, I just may be a little late, but I can,
we could do it at 10.
yeah, I think that'll work.
On the 15th?
15th at 10 a.m. And then if, Olivia, if you could just follow up with Judge Moore again on that one. All right, I'll step back now from,
And so you would say 10 a.m. start on the 15th?
anybody else see some close ones where you could move things around?
Are the no's on Monday, the 6th, hard no's, being that we have the finance that morning?
I can be a yes on the 6th.
I don't see a 6.
Yeah, the 6th isn't on here, but I think it
It's
was.
in the middle.
Oh,
It's out of
wait.
order.
Oh, it's
It's
out of
green, it's
order.
the first
Thanks.
green.
Judge Moore on the 6th, but no.
As did Kristen, I think.
It's because my children are not in school, so I can.
They don't want
I think
to
Judge
learn
Moore
civics.
is a hard no.
Yeah.
Olivia believes Judge Moore is a hard no for that day, but we can, of course, check.
Yeah, the 6th is like, if everybody else says yes, then I will make myself available. But there might be 3 small me's.
So to cut through this, it sounds like Olivia's gonna check with Judge Moore on the 6th, on the 15th at 10 a.m., and on Monday, the 27th at 1 p.m. And then, Madam Chair, I would propose that failing those, that you issue a new poll for Friday, May 1st through Friday, May 8th, of which I'm wide open for any of those. And I don't know if any of you guys want to look at those now and tell us if any of those are a hard no, but Friday, May 1st to Friday, May 8th.
Okay, let me just ask a question. So we have an April 23rd regular board meeting. We also have a May meeting. Let me tell you when it is. The May board meeting is currently scheduled for the 21st. So would you be looking at a special board meeting for those dates?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is the
I'm good with the 21st of May.
That's the regular board meeting?
Correct. That's, May 21st is the regular board meeting.
So I think, Olivia, you had said that Chief Milliken's not available April 23rd. That's our regular board meeting.
That's correct.
Could you triple check with him that he doesn't want to stay here instead of going to Indiana?
Okay.
Just check. Since we're asking Judge Moore, I think it's fair to ask him since he's the only one apparently that can't be at that one.
Okay.
Okay, so it's your preference that we try to reschedule the April date to a day we can get 11 of you. Barring that, you would then prefer to keep the April 23rd regular meeting and try to have a special meeting where we could get 11 of you between May 1st and 8th.
Correct.
Okay.
I have a procedural question. For you, Colleen. Yes, sir. It was referenced earlier that we have a lawsuit against us. And I think I know what it's about, but I'm not positive, and I have never heard that we have a lawsuit.
To my knowledge, there's no lawsuit
And
been filed.
so, but if a board member knows of a lawsuit, how would she be the only one that knows that there's a lawsuit and the rest of us don't know that there's a lawsuit? And I think she may have used the words pending lawsuit. I may be wrong on that. But my question is, if in fact there is a lawsuit or a pending lawsuit or is going to be a lawsuit, how would we, does that delay the vote or should it delay the vote? Because it'll be against one of the candidates, I would imagine.
Well, to my knowledge, there has not been a lawsuit filed against JWB or against any of the candidates as we sit here today. We are all aware of, the article in the paper and what was stated, and I assume that that's what she was referring to. And that would be within your discretion if you wanted to, delay the vote until that situation is resolved in the court system. But right now, I do not know that there is a lawsuit filed.
Okay, thank you.
And that was pending, yes.
Do you want to share with us how you know that there's a pending lawsuit, but the rest of us do not know that?
You should know that. We all received the letter,
That's not a lawsuit. That's a demand letter.
demand letter. That's why I said pending.
Well, there's no lawsuit. There's no pending lawsuit.
Okay, thank you, Brian.
Demand letter.
Okay, so back to April dates.
At this moment in time, Olivia will reach out to specifically the chief and Judge Moore, but if you guys could hold these dates that have been discussed, the 15th at 10 a.m., the 6th at 9 a.m., the 27th at 1 p.m., we will endeavor to get 11 people here, so we can only have an April and a May meeting. And if not, we will keep the April 23rd meeting. We will need 6 of you here for quorum to be able to conduct business. And then Olivia will hopefully get a date between May 1st and May 8th that 11 of you are available for the CEO issue.
Okay, and I'm sorry, Colleen, did you, 4:15 at 10, 4:06 at 9?
Correct.
4, what other date?
4/27 at
Okay.
1 p.m.
Okay. I have to mark it as though it's real, otherwise I'll lose it. Okay, so I guess are we then taking
We
no
can table and take no
Okay,
action on this
yeah.
until we get further clarity, and we don't have to have a formal action since you've given the direction as to which date she can secure if possible.
Okay, so those 3 dates, everyone will keep available as we've previously indicated on their calendars. We'll follow up with some of the other board members and take no action as to the April board meeting dates today. So we will then move on to the last action item, which is to adopt the fiscal year 26 fourth quarter, more calendar, board meeting dates and trim hearing dates, which is a much shorter list, so it should
Okay,
theoretically be
so-
easier. No? Okay.
This one, it was at your place, this one, the trim, Olivia, did you pass out the trim dates? Okay, so this was in your board packet. I think I have a couple copies that I brought, so let me read it and then I'll pass it down. So we have to set the dates for trim as well as our July board meeting. That date has not been set. Again, let's see, according to the memo, after polling all 11 board members to achieve quorum, the proposed date for the July board meeting is Thursday, July 23rd at 9 a.m. So that would be the first date we are trying to set today, is the July board meeting. And recall that these meetings, as we work up to September, involve budget and are very important to have as much participation as possible.
Is there a secondary choice or?
That was the date with the most people who could come in July.
Julia conducted that poll, so I'm not sure.
Okay, so July 23rd appears to be the best date for the July board meeting. Then you have to have 2 hearings for trim in September. We typically cancel well, I shouldn't say cancel. We typically move the regular September meeting to one of the trim hearing dates. So if you look at the bottom of the sheet, and I can pass this out, there are 2 groups of dates. So we have a hypothetically Thursday, September 3rd date for the first trim hearing. You can have the final on the 17th, and then you could have it on the 9th and the 22nd. And then you could move the September board meeting to one of those dates at 3:30 so that we don't have to have you all here 3 times during September. We cannot conflict with the Board of County Commissioners. We cannot conflict with the school board. There are also Jewish holidays as well as Labor Day in September. So we have very few dates this year that are easy to work with. And statutorily, there are dates that we have to follow between the first meeting and the second meeting. We have to get things in the newspaper. So it is a difficult date. Thank you very much for putting that up there, to get scheduled, which is why we are doing this in March, to get it on everyone's calendar. And it is important to have 11 of you here if possible. Depending on what you guys decide in your budgeting process, you may need 6 people to pass the millage and the budget. You may need 8, could need 11. It just depends what you guys decide to do. So it is imperative that 11 of you are here.
Thank you very much for scheduling all of these dates. I just wanted to bring something up to the board, and I don't know whether there's any appetite for it, but there seems to be a constant struggle with dates and coordinating everybody's schedule. And the requirement currently in the bylaws is that you physically have to be here and that you cannot appear by Zoom. I looked at how we change the bylaws, and that requires a majority of people to be here to change the bylaws. It also requires that it be put on the board agenda. So I just would like to, kind of get the board's appetite on whether or not, or maybe it's legally not possible for the board to change that requirement.
Correct.
in the
Legally,
bylaws.
because you are a local agency under 189 and 286, you have to be here in person unless you have extraordinary circumstances. And the Attorney General has only found that it was when I can't remember if it was a city or a county commissioner was ill and unable to make it. And then the board still has to vote and find that that's good cause to allow that person to participate electronically, but you still need a quorum. You still need a quorum in the room. During COVID, the governor issued an executive order suspending that. So we were allowed to meet on Zoom, but because you are a local entity, you cannot
And
do
is
that.
that prohibitive of what,
Correct.
What is the criteria? So there can be no decision made by the board via Zoom?
The person on Zoom cannot participate unless it is extraordinary circumstances, and that's not just I'm busy or I'm on a trip. The AGO has only found that in a situation where someone was ill and unable to make it to the meeting because of illness, and this is the same rule that would apply to the county commission or the Clearwater Council. This is not something that is driven by our bylaws. Our bylaws reflect what is legally required.
And so that's statutory then?
Statutory, yes,
Okay,
186,
so we should have
189
been
and
talking-
286.
I'm gonna talk to my friends in Tallahassee about that.
Well, and as our board members recall, during COVID, the governor issued an executive order suspending the in-person quorum requirements, and that's when we were allowed to do it. The rules are different for statewide boards because this is local, it requires in-person.
And this is why I do criminal law.
Ms. Muller, I'm glad you brought that up. I was debating whether to bring it up now or in an open agenda because it seems to be the same thing. I'm not an attorney, don't pretend to be one. However, if you're defining all of those in the same way, I can tell you that the school board regularly has people on Zoom and they participate and vote on Zoom. We have a quorum in person, but I agree with Mrs. Malo that we should at least look at that, especially when you have individuals who are doing their jobs but can't be here because they're doing their job for the public, but also could potentially listen in on Zoom. I understand the concerns about, then you end up with 10 people not here. You still need a quorum in person, but I can tell you that we've regularly had people voting via Zoom, and our board has allowed that.
And just by way of discussion, I do recall at one point, because Mr. Bartlett was at the prosecutor's conference because he was required to be there due to the nature of his job, because of his position, and which also makes him part of the board. So I remember we took a vote. He was I think by phone maybe.
Exactly, that was either last year or the year, it was 2 years ago, at one of the trim hearings. He was up there and we took a vote. I believe Commissioner Latvala made the motion to find that there were extraordinary circumstances, that Mr. Bartlett had to be there because of his, he was elected and required to be there. So we voted, you guys voted that that was extraordinary circumstances. I'm just pointing out that the only AGO opinion has only been on the health of the person. And because of the implications, if you do not have, if you need 8 votes to vote for your, let's say your millage or to pass your budget, and then there's a challenge to whether the 8, if there was an 8 on Zoom, you would have to then go back to the rolled back rate. And so that's why for trim, I always like to have the number we need in the room so that nobody could challenge any of the votes. And I remember that year Ms. Rutland also ran in from the airport in order to ensure that we had the correct people in the room. So I appreciate everybody's efforts to get here during trim. Those to me are the most important hearings. So I would just leave it at that.
Well, does anyone have any strong opinions? Does anyone's calendar have any strong opinions about either option 1 or option 2? I'm talking about the September dates that are up on the screen there.
I think they both work for me.
My preference would be option 2, but I could change things to make option 1 work if that's for the better.
I also am available on either set. No, option 2 would be the 9th and 22nd.
Yeah, actually, I'm out of town the 17th, so option 2 would be good for me.
Okay, is everyone available on option number 2, which would be September 9th at 5:15 and September 22nd at 5:15? Yes, yes, no, yes. Is anyone not available? All right, so let's talk about option 2 then. Can we set the September dates for the 9th at 5:15 and September 22nd at 5:15?
Make a motion for those dates, option 2.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed or not available?
So we would also ask that you decide what date in option
Oh,
2
which
that you
one
would like
for-
the board meeting to occur at 3:30. And also if we could also have a motion on the July 23rd, that would be great.
Okay, so back to September 9th and September 22nd. Can everyone look at their calendars for both of those dates for the 3 o'clock time frame? Yes.
Yes, that's historically what we do, and I think 3:30 would probably be fine to start it out.
Either? Yes, 9th and 22nd. There is either day that someone is not available around 3:30. Okay. Any other opinions, strong opinions, calendar opinions? No? Okay, so you said the 9th is better than the 22nd, Ms. Rutland?
Yes.
Okay, so can we do that? Yeah, the 9th would be the board meeting and trim. And then the 22nd would be just trim.
So the board meeting's at 3:30?
Yes. Yeah, we do the board meeting first and then trim comes after, because it's shorter. I don't know if that's why, it's just, works out that way.
By law, we can't start our trim meeting till after 5, so we have to do it.
Oh, that makes sense. I knew there was a reason. All right. Okay, so, and then you said July dates too? Well, let's do that one first.
So if we could just have a motion for setting the July board meeting for the 23rd at 9 a.m.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so July meeting is on the 23rd at 9 a.m. right? Yes, okay.
And then a motion to have the September board meeting on the 9th at 3:30.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Yay. Motion passes. It's a miracle. Okay, so I think that is all the action items, right? Yes.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
question for you. Taking a look as we go into the presentations, just looking over them, I feel they're very relevant and critical to the strategic plan and kind of the discussions that we're having. We are absent several board members today, and I feel it would be crucial and beneficial for them all to hear. So I'd like to move that we postpone those presentations until the next board meeting.
I just want to point out, oh, I'm sorry if I shouldn't talk during if she made a formal motion.
I don't know that she had
Oh,
yet,
okay.
but I don't, were you finished?
Yeah, I was just making a move to.
Oh, she was moved. She did make a motion, okay.
I'll second.
So it's just, I feel that, looking at the presentations, it has a lot to do with a lot of the initiatives and mental health. We're missing several board members, so I thought it'd be crucial for all of us to be present, to hear those and be part of, hearing those discussions, as we've been having plans and discussions for the strategic plan and, moving forward with that. So I'd like to move them to next board meeting when we're all present.
So Ms. McShay made a motion, I think Ms. Chia seconded it. Is there any discussion? Thank you, Mr. Latvala.
I don't really care one way or the other. I just want to point out that this meeting was moved because of spring break. And I know one board member is probably in Tallahassee because it's the last day of session. And I think there's some judicial stuff going on today too. So.
Madam Chair, I also don't feel super strongly, but I'm fine moving them. We're all very busy, so I'm fine moving them.
I guess
Would the person being able to do the presentations be able to move them, I guess is the question.
I think everybody is staff,
It's
right?
staff, right?
They're
Everyone's
staff
staff.
presentations,
Yeah,
so
they're all
yes, they
staff
could be moved.
presentations, so.
I mean, you can move them, of course, to the next meeting. I just don't know how long the next meeting would be then if we do 2 months worth of presentations at the same time. And your fellow board members can always watch that on YouTube if they wanted to see the presentation. So it's whatever you want. This is not action being taken on them. We try to make the meetings a reasonable length each month, so.
Should we then take a vote on the motion? Okay, there's a motion and a second to table the presentations and move them to, the next board meeting?
Yeah.
Okay, there was a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Oh, no, I have to count again. Okay, any opposed?
No.
No, not, wait, you're, okay. Feel like I asked a bad question.
We will move those to the April board meeting. So everybody put a little extra time on your calendars for the April board meeting, so we'll have some extra presentations in April.
You mean the one that we don't, oh, we do have a date for that one, never mind.
Is that the 23rd?
Well, we don't know. We might be moving the 23rd. We're not quite certain what date that would be. If we can move the April meeting, we will. If we cannot, it will be April 23rd, and then we will have a special meeting.
Okay, so motion passes to move the presentations to the month of April. We will be addressing those in the month of April. Mr. McCurrick, it's your turn. Because we skipped all the presentations.
Yeah, we skipped all the presentations. It would have been good to be able to show the first presentation because I think it answers some of the questions that were brought up, but that is your choice. With that, my CEO report, it's in front of you as well. I've formatted it a bit differently so that you could see what the staff has really been working on specifically in the areas rather than trying to read through the long version. A couple of just highlights that I'd like to bring to your attention. We've continued to work with, and actually have had conversations with Mark Wilson and the Florida Chamber at their request. There are programs. One started with the Parent Protect because they want to look at the potential of taking that statewide, and they wanted our input. The second was really, as there is a program going on led by the Florida Chamber as well as the AG, and the number of economists and researchers, and the program is really built around the future direction of Florida and its prosperity. And what they really were intrigued with was a presentation that was made actually at our Kids First luncheon about our kids database. And what they were intrigued about it is it fit very well with what they are trying to do. In fact, what they're looking to expand on is to go by zip code, reaching down to each of the areas across Florida, creating opportunities for people to step up and be part of a broader program for economic development and the like. What they liked about our kids database is that it allows us to go even deeper. It allows us to get to the census level. So they wanted to hear more about that. They wanted to see more about that, and we're continuing to have discussions with them on it and the potentially that they may be looking to use that as part of their broader program. Other than that, as I said, you can see on here many of the accomplishments that the staff have completed and that are part of under our direct leadership. And again, the only thing I would say to you, I wish we could have presented to you today, the first presentation, which really covers I think, a broad issue that's a misconception, but that is your choice.
I was much louder a second ago. So. Any other discussion or questions for Mr. McCarrick? Nope. Okay. Any discussion about the informational items? No?
I do have one thing on the informational items. 4B, I just want to request a copy of the Suncoast Center Inc.'s cap and response when it's received next week. If you could email that to me, that'd be great.
Okay. Anything else? All right, with that, oh wait, anniversaries. Ooh, it's me, I'm gonna put on my Mr. Bartlett hat. The February anniversaries, Bria Bostic, 1 year. Marlena Satcher, 1 year. Jomar Lopez, 6 years. And Janine Evoli, 33 years.
Wow.
34? Is it 33 or 34? 34. I'm not trying to take a year away from anybody here. All right, open agenda. All right. Do I have to make a motion to? Can I? Look. All right. Thank you, everyone.
Great job. Thank you.